There's a term Thai locals use for the motorbike burn scars on British tourists' legs. They call it a Thai tattoo. It's become so common, drunk tourists rent scooters, crash those, and burn their legs on the exhaust pipes. In 2018, British tourists in Thailand got arrested at a rate of 45 per 100,000 visits, nearly 6 times higher than in Spain. And somewhere right now, a group of sunburnt men in football shirts is singing Sweet Caroline in a sacred space. And nobody is stopping them. But if we look deep down, we will get to understand their behaviors. Spain has been dealing with the current problem for the last few decades. The Mediterranean coast learned to handle British holiday energy in places like Magaluf. Resorts went all-inclusive, so the damage stayed on site. Tour companies planned pub crawls just to keep the group on track. They literally invented boats, only to float a bar into international waters. Guess what happened next? Well, the tourists started jumping off balconies, and the Spanish press gave the new trend a cute nickname, balconing. You leap from your 4th floor room into the pool, or hop balcony to balcony. Dozens of people died doing this, both German and British young tourists. Their post-mortem reports had mentions of measurable blood alcohol content, obviously. Seeing the catastrophe, Spain finally decided the money coming from the fat wallets of the UK tourists wasn't worth it anymore. Mallorca introduced fines of up to 600,000 euros. Magaluf banned pub crawls to 1 per day, and promotions of excessive drinking were banned. Some towns ran ad campaigns that basically said, if you're British and looking to get wrecked, we don't want you here. That message landed, so they moved 6,000 miles east, though they didn't replace Southeast Asia with Spain. When the Mediterranean started closing doors, the eastward traffic just picked up speed. The difference is containment. Spain could coordinate EU legal systems through the Schengen Information System, which allows police cooperation across borders. If you get banned in Magaluf, it follows you to Mallorca. Southeast Asia doesn't work like that. When you get kicked out of Thailand, you can just fly to Vietnam. Most cultures use alcohol as a social lubricant. They have a little wine with dinner to soften social anxiety, or have a beer with friends to have funnier conversations. At the end of the day, everything boils down to enhancement. But British drinking culture has different objectives. It starts from getting on it, then moves to getting absolutely smashed, and finally lands on the lash. They're trying to feel nothing. Success is measured in memory loss. Hence, I don't remember anything is said with pride every day. The irony is, this works, barely, in the UK. There, most pubs close at 11, and muscular bouncers know the drill. Police specialize in drunk crowd control, and the NHS is always awake, only to take care of alcohol emergencies. You start drinking, the pub closes, you eat a lukewarm kebab, and take the night bus home. Everything is good. Now do the math for Southeast Asia. A pint in the UK is £6, in Bangkok it's £1. A £500 entertainment budget gets you maybe 3 nights out in Manchester. In Bangkok, it gets you 2 weeks of continuous drinking. These economics make obliteration a lifestyle. Moreover, you won't see any particular closing time. Bars run around the clock, and those haven't yet deployed any bouncers to cut people off. Also, there's absolutely no cultural script for you've had enough. Hospitals are completely unequipped for the volume of alcohol poisoning they're now dealing with. British pub culture runs on one rule: if you're not shouting, you're basically dead. Football chants, bellowing like you're summoning the gods. That's what you call bonding. In Manchester, it's expected, and even adorable. But in a Thai market, do that, and suddenly, you're the reason locals need aspirin. But indeed, it's an unresolved mystery where that charming reputation comes from. While actually all tourists in my videos are annoying when they start taking photos, the Brits do it differently. People pose next to sacred objects like they're props from a theme park. The excuse never changes. Relax, it's just a photo. Except it's not. It's their uniform that changes everything. Can you imagine how it would feel if a group of Thai visitors climbed onto the altar at Westminster Abbey, shirtless, for the sake of content? The lads have arrived, and the skin, sunburned so severe they glow in the dark. Despite living on an island where it rains 200 days a year, they've somehow never encountered the concept of sunscreen. For men, when they're wearing a shirt, it's often the football shirt. Premier League kit, usually 2 sizes too small. It's just the most comfortable to wear besides wearing nothing at all. These shirts have technical moisture-wicking fabric designed for athletic performance, worn exclusively to sit motionless in plastic chairs for 8 hours. They are rocking the buzz cut. Short on the sides, slightly longer on top. It says, "I work in construction," or "I'm pretending I do." More of their behaviors are pretty notable. They have the expectation that everyone in a 10-kilometer radius should speak fluent English. If locals don't understand the UK accent, the volume increases because, apparently, shouting transforms vocabulary. Public disorder arrives soon after. Street fights that start because someone bumped into someone who was already drunk. The Pattaya parking space fight in 2025 went viral. Two British tourists were swinging at each other over a parking spot. Neither of them actually needed because neither had a car. They didn't even remember the reason afterward. Perhaps it could still be manageable if they had stopped there. But the list is long with incredible acts like passing out on sidewalks or urinating on beaches, alleys, or sometimes just wherever gravity takes them. They rent motorbikes without a license, insurance, or even a helmet and ride drunk. In the UK, motorcycle usage is very low compared to Asia. That explains why many of them get the Thai tattoo. But if we just take a step back, you start to see why this particular combination of behavior shows up in this part of the world and not everywhere British tourists go. Think for a moment about what daily life feels like back home for many of them. The mornings start under a tired sky. The light arrives late and disappears early, and once winter lands, it barely shows up at all. The weather is just depressing. People go to work in the dark and return to the same darkness, and eventually that starts to sink into their bones. The routine wears people down. Besides, there's a huge financial burden. Wages in the UK have not stretched in a meaningful way since the last financial crash. Now place that person on a plane. Let them step out into the Bangkok heat where the air feels completely alive. Nobody expects them to hold anything in. They are anonymous in the fullest sense, and with anonymity comes beast-like freedom. Southeast Asia happens to be the place where that release feels affordable in every means. It is the collision between a cultural compression and a regional retreat. Besides that, you have to remember, for 100 years, British kids grew up looking at a map that was 1/3 pink. They were taught that the world existed to service them, that the sun never set on their empire because God didn't trust the British in the dark. That turns into the subconscious that says, I have the pounds, you have the poverty, so you will dance for me. You see it when they haggle. Watch a British tourist argue with a street vendor for 10 minutes to save 50 cents. They will fight to the death over an amount of money they wouldn't even pick up off the floor in London. However, Thailand isn't exactly in a position to absorb that philosophy, or even entertain it. So the country has started saying no, slowly but firmly. No. While keeping a keen eye on the GDP numbers. That's why they launched the Quality Tourist campaign after COVID. They don't need the Brits anyway. They're not even in the top 10 inbound tourists. After all, one wealthy visitor staying 2 weeks contributes more than 10 backpackers staying 2 days each. That logic changes the math. Now they enforce temple dress codes and restrict alcohol sales in some areas. Bali went even further. Foreign arrests are up 49% year over year. Each arrest was made into a media spectacle, as if the Bali administration is saying, we will humiliate you publicly, and your embassy can't save you for creating nuisance. Your money doesn't buy immunity. Vietnam and Cambodia, however, are still trying to be that brave. They need the tourist money too badly to say no outright. But they're seeing what happened to Pattaya. Nobody wants their beach towns to become the new Magaluf. The economic calculation is changing gradually. So how is the silent revolution paying back? Well, Thailand recorded a 6% drop in tourist arrivals in 2025, and it's the first non-COVID decline in a decade. The Thai baht is strengthening to erase the affordability advantage. Vietnam and Cambodia are undercutting each other on price. But there are things that demand more time to change, and Southeast Asia's Say No to Nuisance campaign is not an exception. The package tour companies still market Lads Holidays Thailand in all caps, while budget airlines still treat Southeast Asia like typical European destinations. The infrastructure that enables this behavior still profits from it. After all, everyone involved has a financial incentive to continue. The British tourists need a cheap escape from grey misery, and the tour companies are chasing billion-dollar profit. The only costs are externalities. Local culture slowly erodes, and working-class Southeast Asians absorb abuse. Since these don't appear on balance sheets, they matter the least, until they do. But countries can be more distant from the lads soon. China sends 140 million tourists abroad every year. India is sending 40 million. Both spend more per trip than British backpackers. The math is simple. Thailand doesn't need the lads anymore. The era of British tourist importance is ending.